A budget that would lay off workers and cut services is just, one that should not be tolerated by any Chicagoan.
It's not that the city is not giving you enough money. You guys are definitely getting enough money, but you guys are spending it. It's maldistributed to all of these things, mostly illegal immigrants, which is what we've been saying for the longest time. And now you want to squeeze the city of more money.
The city of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, followed by a resident yesterday, talking to a budget committee that ultimately moved forward a new spending plan as the city approaches that end-of-month deadline to pass an annual budget. And the package that apparently is on its way to be approved today with a city council meeting, it includes property tax increase, not just a property tax increase for the upcoming budget, but annual property tax increases linked to the Consumer Price Index. So the first jump is going to be $68.5 million in a property tax increase. That's part of the proposal. There's also increases in the tax rate on personal property leases. You've got $12.9 million increasing the amusement tax on streaming services like, Netflix or HBO or whatever it may be. Millions of dollars by getting rid of the basic income program. That was a program that was funded by COVID dollars, and it was a pilot program of guaranteed income, so they're going to cut that, $74 million. Also, $11.3 million for taxes on parking. They're going to increase that. You've got checkout bags, a tax on that. They're looking at raising $5+ million and a whole host of other things. So a pretty big budget, $233+ million of taxes, fines, and fees, including that $68.5 million property tax increase, which is less than the $300 million that the full city council shot down. Now, earlier this week on Monday, Johnson was asked about the budget proposal, and he gave his response to what he expects to happen with the city of Chicago.
Budget that would lay off workers and cut services is just, one that should not be tolerated by any Chicagoan. And I know these are difficult financial times, not just in Chicago, but around the globe. A $3 billion deficit projected for the state of Illinois, a $2.7 billion projection of a deficit for Maryland. This is a challenge all over the country. What the city of Chicago is doing is we're putting our hand up first. We're jumping to the front of the line and saying that we have to fight for progressive revenue. That's what's right about this budget. It invests in people. We don't cut services and lay people off. And my team is working regularly with the governor's team to find progressive revenue. Had we passed Bring Chicago Home, that would have been $100 million for this issue. Had the the personal property replacement tax, had that not been expired, that's $162 million that was a corporate giveaway, right? And so these are the things that my administration will continue to work through on behalf of the people of Chicago.
So Johnson, again, talking about going to the state for, quote, progressive revenue. The state has a $3 billion deficit anticipated. What's this, quote, progressive revenue going to look like? Johnson also saying that this is a problem across not just Chicago, it's Illinois with a $3 billion deficit, but other states and cities facing massive budget deficits. If you recall, last week or the week before, we did a segment with Peter Thiel, a venture capitalist, talking about how to bring about, quote, radical change to some of these Democrat-controlled cities that are facing these deficits to get them to foster growth instead of higher revenue. It might be the Trump administration just sitting on their hands and not approving any new dollars. So we'll see what happens there. But yesterday, the city council had a couple of different committee hearings talking about the budget where they approved the initial plan here moving forward. They had a representative from the AFSCME union there supporting this plan.
The balanced budget that you're considering today embodies months of dialogue and cooperation meant to avoid further damaging cuts to city departments and the services they provide. Everyone who has worked to get the budget to this point knows how challenging it's been. And I'm sure there's many others that have important concerns that are not represented here, including our union. For example, this budget eliminates close to 400 vacant AFSCME represented positions. Not filling these vacancies will require real sacrifice from our members, who will be called upon to do more to carry the weight of providing clean drinking water, ensuring restaurants are safe to eat in, serving at welcoming libraries, and running programs for our elderly neighbors, to just name a few. In addition, as you know, for years, AFSCME has fought to expand the number of city-operated mental health clinics. We've also been strong advocates for rolling out mental health crisis response teams citywide. This budget does not open any additional clinics, and the city will have to modify its plans to expand the care teams, but it does make substantial investments in mental health services. This focus on strengthening and preserving public services, making limited investments where possible, while taking seriously the city's structural deficit, is why AFSCME supports this budget, and that's why we urge you to vote aye. Thank you.
So one union supporting the budget plan at a committee hearing yesterday. At a separate committee hearing, another union, the Teamsters Union, had a representative stand up and talk about their concerns on some of the initial proposals, but how they ultimately approved the plan that's going to move forward here in the city council chambers as early as today.
As you can imagine, a number of proposals that were on the table, we started out concerned with that had the tendency to affect some of our members. Starting with the liquor tax, we were happy to see that come off the table because of the great number of members that we felt could have been affected that work in the distribution network for liquor. Following up with that, we had some concerns with a parking tax up to 25%. After some lengthy discussions with the administration, we've reached a deal that we feel is fair. It will raise the parking tax to 23.35%. A marginal amount in exchange for the promise to hire an additional 20 parking meter enforcement officers, as well as work together on some pressing issues facing our city going forward. Again, this is all with the most important consideration that none of our members that work for the city of Chicago are going to be facing cuts, layoffs, furloughs, and we're very, very proud of that. We thank the administration for its work. And working with us.
And he goes on from there. But not everybody was on board. Earlier in the day at one of the committees, residents got up, James McCoy, and he spelled out why he feels that a lot of residents are reaching out to city aldermen and speaking up at these public comment periods to express their concerns and their frustrations.
The city of Chicago is over $1 billion in debt. We have less than a month. You all have less than a month to come up with a budget to solve this situation. And what's interesting about this is the fact that we've been telling you all where you guys have been going wrong. And for the most part, most of you guys have allowed the situation to get to this point where now you guys want to squeeze the city, you want to squeeze the resident of more money, as if Chicago is already not an expensive city to live in, as if Chicago is already not a difficult place to make ends meet, as if gentrification is already not going on, as if inflation is already not high, as if it's already not difficult for the average everyday man and everyday woman to feed their children and to feed themselves. And you guys, the worst part about it is you all gaslight and make it seem as if it's the residents' responsibility. It's your constituents' responsibility to look after your mess. You all, most of you all, allowed this situation to get like this in the first place. We've been coming up here all year, 2 years even, telling you guys about the problem. All of the money that you guys are blowing is not that the city is not giving you enough money. You guys are definitely getting enough money, but you guys are spending it. It's maldistributed to all of these things, mostly illegal immigrants, which is what we've been saying for the longest time. And now you want to squeeze the city of more money, higher property taxes, your parking fees, as if parking's not outrageous in this city. Streaming service taxes, bag taxes, just name it, and there's higher taxes for it. You guys tried to do the thing with alcohol, that didn't last. And for the most part, most of you all knew what you were doing. And this is why most of you all need to leave. This is why most of you all need to get out of your seats.
It's again a resident in Chicago raising concern about the proposed tax increases that we could see approved as early as today. We'll obviously be tracking that here with Illinois in Focus, so we'll update you tomorrow morning. But of course, get all the headlines you need at thecentersquare.com/Illinois and get the newsletter there. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Get the podcast where you get podcasts and wake up with us live every weekday morning here with America's Talking Network.